Hi guys, my name is Debbie. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My channel is Daydreaming with Debbie. A few years ago, my life looked completely different. I spent years taking care of both my parents. I lost both of them and went through financial hardships. And now at 62, I'm rebuilding my life one day at a time. If you've ever had to start over, this video is for you. Let's start with losing my parents. So my mom was already sick at my age, and we almost lost her. And I'm 62, so she was in the hospital for a long time. She ended up having diabetes, and after she had all his kids, there's 3 of us total. The last one, was probably 20. Let's see. Give me a second. He was probably close to 30. So she'd been like 30 years without seeing a doctor. And she just always trusted in God, even till the end. And I find myself sometimes getting guilty that I'm not trusting in God enough because I get scared. But anyway, back to Mom. So she didn't go to the doctor and stuff like that because she thought that she would be okay. And then when she had the diabetes, it had already affected her heart, high blood pressure, and it seems like that diabetes just wrecks your body. Slower than cancer, maybe, because that's what my dad had, stage 4 colon cancer. But it attacks all your, from what I can tell. I mean, I sold Medicare for many, many years. From what I could tell, diabetes just wrecks everything in your body. So we still did things together, but she'd get out of breath, walking, like when we parked somewhere to go to the store. It was hard to just go to the plain mall because she couldn't walk without having something. This handicap kind of thing, I don't know what else to call it, was kind of new for us. So we didn't have proper stuff. I guess we should have bought her like a walker or something way back then. But if we could go to somewhere like a store that was like a Bell's, or just something she had where she could hold on while she walked, and then she'd get real red in the face. So eventually it got to where I was calling around trying to get her all kind of help. When you're 62, what I am now, you're not old enough to get Medicare or anything like that, unless she had already, I didn't really know. That's what kind of got me into Medicare to begin with, because of all the hurdles I first started crossing with her. One place I called to get her some help told me that she needed to divorce my father. That if she would divorce my father, then there was more help available to her. Well, they got married in 1963. They weren't planning on divorcing. So I told them that wasn't an option. So then, we went to, she never really got hospitalized. I think one time during COVID, she had some problem breathing, and that was scary because I couldn't get in there and get near her and see what they were doing to her. And I'm not a big, even when I am in the room with one of my parents, when I was with either one of them, you still have to watch the medical team, because the nurses and the doctors, and no disrespect, because there are some good nurses and good doctors out there, but there's plenty of times I would have to advocate for them being in the hospital. Hey, my mom said she had to go to the bathroom a while ago, or my dad needs to be changed, or whatever. And 20-30 minutes, they'd leave them even longer. I mean, I know they're short-staffed or whatever, but so with her being in there during COVID, and I couldn't even, we took both my mom and dad. They both tested positive for COVID, but even when my dad had cancer, they didn't keep him. I think my mom's breathing problems and her lung problems were more of a concern. And then I started my YouTube. I kind of started dabbling and messing with it a little bit earlier. And both of them were still here. And my plan was to put them both on. And I kept saying, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. And time slips by so quick, and before you know it, they're gone. The weird thing about when my dad got sick in 2018, he was healthy. Matter of fact, he was my mom's caregiver after he quit working. And when we took him to the hospital, first they thought it was diverticulitis, which I thought, oh, he's going to hate that. He loves to eat peanuts. But they came back and told us it was a C word, a word I thought I'd never hear, didn't want to hear. And Mom just kind of, during the time that Dad was sick, Mom just kind of sat back, and she was still sick. And I asked her one time if she was really worried about my dad, and she said no, that, she trusted God to have him. And hang on a second, I'm gonna grab something real quick. And sorry, that's my medicine cabinet. Not all of that is current or recent. I got an old prescription of Mom's and Dad's, both with their name on it. Stupid. Just something I wanted to hold on to. When I asked her if she was worried, she said no. She trusted God to take care of him. But then she got shingles. So these are all pretty much vitamins. So, and a digestive. So when Mom got shingles, I knew right there that, a lot of times shingles is brought on by, excuse me, again. Shingles is brought on by, being worried or stressed or whatever. Thinking about that, I better try to calm down, because that's the last thing I want right now is shingles. So when they said my dad's cancer was treatable but not curable, I refused to believe it. And I did everything and anything I could. And I just cashed out my retirement fund from the phone company, GTE, Verizon. And I went through that pretty quick, not working and taking care of both of them and taking care of my dad and sleeping at the hospital, calling companies to get his pharmaceuticals free. There is extra help and stuff like that, because even though you have Medicare, you're still responsible for 20%. And if you ever have to find out, gosh forbid, I hope you pray you don't, 20% of a chemo medicine is outrageous. So I had to get them extra help, get them on low income, whatever I could do to help to make sure, cause my dad wasn't going nowhere. I was bound and determined he wasn't going anywhere. But towards the end of 5 years, which that's a good survival rate. It's not like I accept it, but we could have had him a lot less. 5 years with stage 4. He was 75 when he got diagnosed, and 80 when he passed. We're somewhat fortunate, that we got to keep him that long. But at the end, even at the end though, he was fussing at me and he was telling me, I'm 80 years old. I brought you into this world. It's just changed me. Even though I'm a grown woman and I have grandchildren, I feel parentless. I feel alone. The only two people who always had my back no matter what, and would always be there for me no matter what, are now gone. And then there's a medical situation in my family that I'm not going to disclose. There's something else going on now, and that scares me. But I originally started YouTube just because I wanted to have a channel, and I wanted to travel, and I wanted to take people around the world and show them places they couldn't go. I knew my mom was kind of like homebound. We did take her to Tennessee one time while she was sick. She just stayed in the cabin the whole week. She didn't go anywhere. And it just made my dad feel guilty trying to do anything. So I know there's people homebound and stuck. So that's why I originally started. But now my dream of daydreaming with Debbie is much more than that. I'm in bankruptcy and foreclosure. The bankruptcy is to help me not lose the house. And I'm doing the best I can. But I'm struggling. I'm struggling bad. And what's weird is that whenever you tell people that you're struggling and they have the means to help you, to throw you something, to just give you some financial help or whatever. They won't. I had somebody tell me one time, well, why would you have taken all that time off of work? You knew you had bills to pay. Looking at it now, yeah, I it's kind of crazy, but when my dad was fighting and struggling for his life, it's like I didn't forget my bills, but my dad, I was so laser focused on my dad that I thought my retirement money that I had would do well enough. Oh, and then another thing too, I've got a PACE loan on my house. And this roofing company came to my house right when my dad got diagnosed and told me it was a government-funded loan. And lo and behold, that loan was going to remain on my mortgage for 20 years, and who knows what my roof was going to cost me when it was all said and done. But that's part of my delinquency on my mortgage, just because that whole SNAP loan, not SNAP, I was looking at something that said SNAP, that whole PACE loan was on my taxes. They were able to put it on my taxes. And so that's part of my bankruptcy, and that's why my payment is so large every month. And, I do lip syncing on TikTok, and I'm doing it on YouTube, and I'm doing it on, stories on my Facebook. So, I'd love for you to subscribe and join my channel. Help me grow this channel, share it with other people. Because, a friend of mine that's on my TikTok, I told her, I said, if I had a printer, it would help me get some more stuff done. So, maybe I could get some more, do some work from home and stuff to help me out. And I said, but I can't really afford a printer right now. And she said, well, do a GoFundMe. When I did a GoFundMe, when I first knew I was in financial trouble, people that, travel and go out of the country, and I've known since I was a kid, not even 10 cents, not even $1, nothing. An old friend from my neighborhood that we weren't even all that close, he was like 5 years older than me, sent me $500, and I was shocked. My closer friends turned their back on me. They never called me to check on me, to see if I'm okay, if I'm financially okay, if I could use anything. I got 5 grandkids. The last thing I want to do is be homeless and out on the street. And then it causes frictions with me and my daughter, because she thinks I don't want to spend time with her kids, because my one granddaughter lives here. I love all my grandkids, but sometimes I feel like hanging on every day is all I can do. I can barely hang on. And I hope I'm not boring you with this video. So I love classic rock. I love singing the classic rock songs. I love doing the videos. And what I hope my life looks like in a year from now is that I've gotten popular, my channel's grown, and I'm not staring at living on the streets or I don't know. But if you're trying to rebuild your life too, please subscribe. Let's encourage each other. Let's see where this journey takes us. Like I said, I try to do the singing stuff because it's fun. Because people don't want to hear sad stuff. They really don't. They like to listen to gruesome crime stories. They like to watch things about movie stars and all that. But there's not a lot of people that sometimes want to hear about a 62-year-old woman who's trying to rebuild her life. And get, I've got a shorter window than I used to have. I'm hoping I don't go anywhere anytime soon, but it isn't like I have 50, 60 years ahead of me, and sometimes I feel all alone. And like I said, my oldest daughter, she has the majority of my grandchildren, and she gets upset with me because I don't spend a lot of time. No, I shouldn't say won't. I don't spend as much time with them as I used to with her first two. With her first two, my dad wasn't sick. My mom, we kind of got used to her being sick. My dad got sick when my second oldest grandchild was 2 years old. So the two of them got a lot of the best of me, because I wasn't fighting, helped my dad fight for his life. And I love every one of my grandchildren. I wish I could bring them over, take them places. Could you, right now with how hard it is, I'm struggling. Could you imagine if I took off 5 even to, I would never take them to McDonald's. No offense to McDonald's, but can you imagine what my bill would be? And I don't know. I don't want this to be sad. So I'm gonna stop with that. But, please subscribe, share. Maybe I can eventually go viral. I will eventually go viral with your help, though. I do need your help. So make comments if you want. If you don't have anything nice to say, but I'd appreciate it if you don't say it. But if you do, I got broad shoulders. This woman's been through a lot. You guys have a great day. Thank you.